Hello and welcome to Obstacle Illusion. I'm April Gallagher and I'm joined here this morning, like I always am, with my dear friend Anna Clint. And
Hello.
we have been discussing this journey of life purpose, realizing it, bringing it into your life and living it. And we were just talking this morning and I just want to veer off course a little bit because it seems to be presenting so strongly for so many people right now, which is the actual going through and clearing out some of these spaces that we have going through. Like I just recently went through like all of my fabric and really took stock of all of those creative resources and materials, right?
Totally.
And I know that Anna has spent the last, I don't know, week and a half in her studio. And I don't actually know what you were doing, setting it up, clearing it out, but why don't you, let's
remodeling.
Remodeling. So let's kind of talk, I would like to talk about both the practicality and the kind of what else is happening when we go through stuff like that, and just an approach, or I don't know, it's
totally.
So what's your experience been like, or what's been going on for you?
Well, in the practical 3D terms, right? It's like we're moving through space and we're touching the things that we own and we're deciding if they work for us or not. But from the energetic point of view, we are being involved at the energy level to see like what's working and what isn't working. And so I'm remodeling a room in my studio that was a dark room. It's going to be my office, and I can't work in a dark room because it's dark. And April, if you remember, at the last place I lived, I was there for 9 years, and my office was in an underground space. Practically, it wasn't underground, but it was completely cut off from doors and windows and sunlight, and
it's a dark room.
Was essentially a dungeon. But it was a live work space, and you have to do what you have to do when you live in a warehouse. It's just what it is. And but after that, I said, no more. I am not working in a space without natural light ever again. I can't deal with it. And I can't put a skylight in this space because we have solar panels on the roof. But what we did was we cut 2 giant holes in this wall that is shared with the main space in the studio, where sunlight does come in from beautiful skylights, windows on east and west sides. And so we're putting in this glass panel door and a window. But what we're doing effectively is we're completely drastically changing the energy of the space, right? We are purposefully, intentionally determining what the energy of the new space like I'm, actively engaged in what is the energy of this new space? What do I want it to be like? It's going to serve me in my work, and it's going to serve me and it's going to serve my clients. It's going to serve the healing. I'm going in with this intention that I'm creating a space that is energetically loving and also robust and also tuned, right? We're tuning our spaces when we are dealing with our stuff. And so I am totally a hoarder when it comes to fabric. Like we've been talking about fabric, and you're really inspiring me. That I have some fabrics that I don't even love. Like, why am I holding on to this fabric that I don't even love? And so I'm going to go and I'm going to get rid of that. But I do have other things that are really useful that I want to use, that, I have ideas for. I just, at some point when my studio is more complete, I may actually have the ability to use this stuff. But it's about this energetic tuning. And so I know that you help clients with that a lot. And this is a big part of your work is helping people move from the 3D into the 5D, but using space and stuff, materiality as the vehicle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an important thing to know when you're doing that, well, a couple of things. One is remembering that the energy with which something is created stays with the creation and is an essential component of whatever is created, right? So just as you're creating the space in your studio, the energy and the intention with which you create it will have an impact on what then happens in that space moving forward.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that I've used, one of the things that I really enjoy about helping people create these spaces is that when you do create them with intention and you're able to imprint these spaces with a high frequency.
Yes.
And you've probably noticed that it's not always easy to maintain a high frequency, right? Like we have these days, these moments within our days where we seem to get pulled out, right? Like maybe somebody cuts us off, maybe somebody says something that hurts our feelings, maybe, you know, something happens, we read something, we have an interaction with somebody and we get caught up and we get taken out of our game. And the more we have these physical spaces that have this imprint of these higher frequencies, it helps to reset us, right?
Yes.
So it's like, I love helping people create their workspaces of having these high intentions so that when they go into their space to meet with clients or to create whatever it is they're going to create, they are kind of immediately reminded of their what their intentions are, what their purpose is, why they're here, what and who they are. And so that's what's awesome about it. And it's, you know, I'm a very practical person, and I find that to be very practical to have these reminders in our physical spaces to bring us back to these places that we want to be.
Totally.
Okay, Nicola?
Sometimes as I rent this apartment, I have not the possibility to really create something with it, but you can always do something. So, for example, I saw some with fabric I had, and when I was sewing on the machine, some little pieces where I could put some, they act as a reminder. So I put them on my shelf in the kitchen, but I did them by myself. It's not a thing I bought that I put on, but I did it by myself. So I associate with these wait a minute, fabric pieces, Schleife, with this loop. I associate to remind me of my plan, that I stick to my plan, or that I stay focused. So I like very much the idea to create it in the first place, but I want to remind us that we also can do with what we have at hand.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thank you for sharing. And honestly, getting rid of what you have is probably gonna make more of an impact and open up more of your creativity and what wants to come through and raise the frequency more than bringing something in, right? Because what we're faced with right now, like where humanity is that we have this opportunity to really put the past behind us, to really shed those patterns and behaviors and traumas. I'm not saying we shove it under the rug. That's not what I'm advocating here. I'm saying we look at it, we recognize it for what it is, and we release it. And that act in your experience, that act in your mental thinking, that act in your behaviors, and that act in your physical space is going to do more for putting you in the right place for living your purpose, more for putting you in the higher dimensional living, more for the ease and flow than anything that we could buy and put into there. There's no crystal that you can acquire and put in your space that's going to clear and upgrade the frequency of your house or environment as much as you releasing the past and leaving it there and stepping into this moment.
Yeah, and so you do it by releasing the stuff, which is also a metaphor for releasing the energy and the emotions, the memories, the whatever's behind it.
Yeah. Because it's just the stuff is just a very dense physical representation of it. You know, it is the actual 3D physicality representation of it. And when we release that, it untethers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something to know too. It's like borders on TMI, but it's just useful information to know, is that often during this, there's a lot of physical clearing that happens as well. So if you find in moments of, or in periods of moving or transition, or you're really like letting go of stuff, you might find yourself in the bathroom a lot more and just releasing, because
Shedding.
the body is also a physical representation, just like the home is.
Right.
And so stuff gets shed there as well. Nicola.
I think you can help yourself spiritually too. I think it's absolutely important to get rid of everything that is not serving you anymore, because a cup that is full with old stuff and full with things you cannot use, it will overflow, but you won't have space in it to do new things. But I think you can energetically work with your space by putting incense in and putting intention in and creating things. It's not only by the physical things that you clear the space. The Feng Shui thing, Feng Shui, I don't know the pronunciation in English, I'm sorry. But it helps really very much to get things in order. I'm not speaking about this ordering Japanese lady. I don't.
Marie Kondo.
Yes, exactly. I found it helpful, but I took care of my space before with. There is a book in German that the name is Feng Shui gegen das Gerümpel des Alltags. What means, Anna?
Anna, what's that mean?
Feng Shui for every day.
That was quite good, but for the Gerümpel.
Yeah, I don't know what Gerumpel is.
Yes.
Rumpelstiltskin is what it made me think of.
Anna. Now you have to say like the name 3 times or something.
Totally. And then he's like.
I was off screen. Against Feng Shui against the clutter of everyday life.
Oh, against the clutter of everyday life.
Yes, and I love this book very much because it is not really, it's not dogmatic or something, and I find Marie Kondo is somehow dogmatic. Sorry, but yes, and I adapted some folding techniques for my my socks, but not very much.
Right.
So I think, and I worked with much of clearing with incense. You can clear the past too with herbs and homeopathics, and it works really very good. But it has a really deep healing capacity, and you have to be very careful because some herbs are poisonous too. But yes, you can use. I still live. I didn't poison myself.
That'll put you in the bathroom for another reason.
But I agree with this bathroom theory too, because I feel my body is cleaning itself. I'm nutrition wise, I will have to take care more, but even though I felt there's a cleaning process working inside me too.
I think you bring up a good point, which is when we're talking about letting go of the past, when you bring it, when you're evaluating it in order to let it go, that there's so many ways to support yourself through that process, right? And so that's at some point during our journey, we will talk about support systems and getting support. But here's a great example of it, of
Absolutely.
that seek out the support you need in order to be able to release the past. And looking into herbs, looking into practitioners, and whatever that may be, in order to, because we aren't just shoving it under the rug, right? We're dissolving it. It's really what's happening.
Perhaps transforming it, because it's not useless that it happened to us. It's like compost. Yes, you put what you have left from your preparing of the meal, to put it out there, and nature transforms it. And you can write a letter and put it on the compost, and you'll have done a release job for clearing of the path. And I think, and you get good it's incredible, good earth from the compost to put to yes, to Heidenei. To fertilize what you newly want to plant. And I think it's really important not to put it under the rock, but because there it gets mold or whatever. And you have to take big steps if you put it under the rug, if you do it always, and it's not really nice, and you risk falling, and you see. So I think to put it off from the chest and to put it to good use is really important, because if we let it under the rock, it's staying there without getting fertilizer. And if we clean it up and put it out in nature, then it gets the fertilizer for our new creative ideas. And it gets less because you don't get the same amount of fertilizer out of.
That's right. And to bring it all back to purpose, which is our main purpose here.
Look at that. You did bring it back to purpose.
All of that old stuff, whether it's the literal 3D stuff or if it's our internal stuff, is like an anchor, an energetic anchor that's keeping us tethered to this old reality. And so whether that's the old version of who we were, whether that's 3D reality when we're trying to bridge to 5D and beyond, whether it's hanging on to your past identity, it's this anchor, and it's so hard, freaking hard, damn near impossible to really step fully into your purpose so long as you have this 100-pound anchor that's on your leg or your neck or wherever, on your back, or however you want to like visualize it. But this is really like, what we're talking about is yes, it feels good to clear out that space so that you can get new creative ideas, so that you can have more fun, so you can do whatever, so you can have more peace of mind when you look around your space. But at the end of the day, like if this is what you care about, we talked about Maslow's pyramid opening up to the inverse, right? So like once you like meet all of those basic physical needs and you get the beyond self-actualization, where you're really connecting into the needs of humanity, the needs of the planet, the needs of the universe, whatever, however you want to phrase that, you open up to this other kind of inverse exponential growth. But you can't do that with that anchor attached to you. You will only always be in the lower half of that hourglass. You'll only ever be on the bottom stack of the hierarchy of needs. And then that's exactly right, Nicola. Like, you can't, we can't sweep it under the rug, because all we do in that hierarchy of needs is keep looping back down to, well, how come I don't feel safe? How come I don't feel like I belong? How come I don't feel powerful? How come I don't feel like, I have something to contribute? How come I can't see my purpose? Probably it's because there's an anchor attached to you. And, so clear out your space and clear that out metaphorically as well. Damn it, do it. Let's do it.
Do it. Yes. And so, I mean, I think that's a good place to actually stop for the day, which is an open invitation to, as you go forward for the next few weeks, see what might be hiding under the rug, or just see, choose a space that, that you would like to have more freedom in, or where you would like to feel, if it's a space where you have the potential to create, maybe it's your desk, maybe it's your dining room, maybe it's, maybe it's the kitchen, and just, spend some time when you're in there, just really letting some stuff go, and just, or just recognizing that, like, hey, like, this space feels great. Like, this, I've done it. Like, I've done the work. I mean, that's something we're going to talk about later too, which is like, it's not always like searching and striving and looking and doing all of this stuff, that there's also time to just like take a step back and recognize, like, wow, I have done the work. This space does feel great. I mean, there is also this time and space for actually the creation. And so perhaps what you find over this next little bit is that you have created some of these spaces, in which place we would love to see and know what you're creating in them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
May I say something?